All right, let's dive into the world of project management, and we're going to kickstart with really establishing what is project management. And if you're like me, we want the context, right? I like to provide the context. You see, project management is a process of leading a team to achieve specific goals within constraint. We talked about project constraint earlier. So some of the project constraints are like time, scope, budget, risk, resources, procurement. So constraints are what are the things that we need to operate within. We all know that in terms of time, we don't have infinite amount of time. A project should not go forever. Budget, nobody has infinite amount of budget, not even Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. So in the context of every project, we need to understand the constraints we're operating within. Like, how much time do we have to execute this project? How much money do we have? How big should this deliverable of the project be? And yes, some of these things may confuse you at this stage, but stay with me. Project management is really the process of leading a team, because you need people to work on achieving a goal, whatever the goal is, right? It won't just happen without people. So project management itself is the process of leading those people to achieve that goal. And because for every goal, you must have like a time frame, you need some constraint, you need some plan, you need some organization, you need to manage your resources so that you can achieve that goal successfully. And that is your premise of project management. So let's talk about an example. Imagine you want to build a website. That is the task. You want to build a website. That is the goal for you. There's a question of, okay, what type of website? Let's say a website that showcases courses like singing skills that people can book for the course. Now, that is our goal, but it's not going to happen if we don't have a team that will build it, whether developer, tester, business and project managers like yourself. In that context, the project sponsor, like the person wanting that website, would need to provide some funds, right? That's the resources. And would say, I need this website maybe in a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, whatever the context is. And there will be some requirement given. So those things are project constraints in that instance. And that's what we're talking about. So according to Project Management Institute, organizations that use project management practices, they reduce the probability of failing on their project a lot than organizations that just whinges it. They don't have project managers, they just do project on the fly without proper planning. So in that context, their project would be bound to fail, because it's the law of life that when you don't have a plan, you're likely to fail. So with that context of project management, let's quickly talk about what is the role of a project manager in all of this. So a project manager is responsible for what I talked about earlier: the planning, the execution, the closing, monitoring and controlling of a project. So even in some contexts, they initiate the project, and we'll talk about that in more details as we go. But the point is, there are different phases in project management, and we'll talk about that in project management life cycle. We have the initiation phase. That is when we start the project. We have the planning phase. That is when we plan the project. We have the executing phase, where we actually do the work to deliver the project objective. We have the monitoring and controlling, where we actually check, okay, are we on track? How are our constraints looking like? Do we have more time? Are we on track in terms of time, in terms of budget, in terms of resources? All of those considerations. And then project closing, which is now we've done all the work. So what did we deliver? How do we hand that to the operations team? How do we commercialize it? How do we archive all the documentation and keep it in a place that people can reference it in future? That is very important. So those are some of the stages of project management, and a project manager will definitely be pivotal to ensure that you're managing and you're responsible for that project during all of those project management life cycle. So they will ensure that your projects stay on track and meet your needs, right? Meet the project goal and objective. The project manager typically will act as a bridge between the team and the stakeholders. So they will organize the team, make sure we achieve this goal so that we delight the stakeholder. Who are stakeholders? Stakeholders are people that definitely have interest, are influenced or affected by your project. So think about the person that actually gave money for the website build. That's a stakeholder. Even the team are stakeholders on the project. It's important for us to understand that concept. So let's talk about some of the key responsibilities of a project manager. And if you look at several job boards, you will see similarities. And it's not just project manager role. You can see project coordinator, project administrator. There's a lot of lingo, IT project manager, construction project. But the core of what you do is you plan. You're responsible for planning the project as a project manager. So you want to know, what are the objectives? When are we going to deliver different milestones? What are the tasks that we need to do to achieve the project objective? All of those things are done during planning. Communication plan, risk. How do we make sure that we don't get negative risk? How do we make sure we have a good plan for how we communicate? How do we ensure that we have plan for changes that happen on our project? Those are absolutely crucial for your project success. The next thing we want to talk about is resources. As you know, resourcing is very important for your project. A project that lacks resourcing lacks everything. It's just like you're trying to build a house but you don't have budget for it. You can't achieve that. So a project manager, based on the plan that they've done, would ensure that their project is resourced effectively, right? So they have the right team, they have the materials that are available to be able to complete that project. If that is missing, your project is already heading for failure. The next one, I want to talk about risk management. Like, we need to be able to identify the potential risk, that the negative occurrence of risk, because there are positive risks, which are opportunities, and there are negative risks, which will threaten your project. You need to be able to have a plan to be able to mitigate the negative occurrence from happening, right? Negative impact. If a risk materializes, it can affect your project negatively. So you want to make sure that you are on top of that. You are proactive. A project manager needs to be proactive to identify those risks and mitigate them before they become an issue. Communication. Keeping your stakeholders informed on your project is very important, because you don't want to do your project in silo. If your stakeholders don't know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing and how you're tracking, you as a project manager would run into a lot of problems and you'll not be in their good graces. One trick I use: make sure they are aware of the risks, the issues, the challenges, the update. All of those things are important, so they know when things happen and they can empathize with you. They can help you remove some of the issues that may happen on your project. And more importantly, they are not just shocked when something happens and they're like, oh my god, how come we didn't hear about this prior? So you don't want to be a project manager that is very reactive. It would make your life very difficult.